Okay, so we're gonna start on your hands and knees.
Okay.
Yeah. And just try to find a nice place where you've got even weight between each hand and your knees. Like a quarter of your weight is on one hand and one knee. Each knee and each hand has a quarter of your body weight. And then just take some nice deep breaths. And now you're going to pull your shoulder blades together and drop your stomach down towards the floor and kind of stick your tail up and your chin up. And this is cow pose. We're dropping down into cow pose. And we'll just take some nice deep breaths. Okay, and then you're going to tuck your chin under, tuck your tail under, round your shoulder blades so that you're pressing your chest away from the ground, and arch your spine. And now we're in cat. And we'll take a couple deep breaths here in cat. Get too aggressive with those breaths. Start choking on my coffee or something. All right, then we'll switch back to cow. And then on your next inhale, come into cat. And then when you exhale, drop back into cow. And just keep breathing in and out, cat and cow. And if you want, you can even add a little bit of motion to it, so or I guess more motion to it, leaning back or rolling forward, side to side maybe, but just whatever feels good. Just getting a few of these little spine rolls, cat to cow. Okay, now you're going to drop your elbows down to the floor. And you're going to try to spread your knees out a little bit more. And just push your weight back. And we're just going to kind of hang out here. So try to take some nice deep breaths. And at least for me, this is very tight position, so it's hard to relax. But just trying to use your breath to kind of convince you to rest a little bit in this position and just allow your hips to open up. Okay, you'll come back up onto your hands, but leave your hips where they're at and your knees, and you'll just walk your hands over to the right and then walk your hands back to the middle and over to the left and then back to the middle. Walk your hands to the right. And again, holding where it feels good to hold, but trying to just kind of keep moving a little bit so we're really opening up our hips and our low back a little bit. And keep focusing on those nice deep breaths. Okay, go ahead and bring your knees back underneath, just kind of one at a time. Be nice and slow. And then we're going to do some of our donkey kicks. So keeping this, also try to keep your back flat here. So a neutral spine, it's like right halfway between cat and cow. By squeezing your tummy, belly button to spine, and tucking your rib cage down like into your belt. And so that'll kind of give you that neutral spine. And then you're going to kick your right leg straight up, keeping your knee bent. And then bring it back down. And as you bring it down, don't rest it on the ground, but swing it all the way through so your knee kind of kicks between your elbows. And then we're going to kick straight back again. And then nice and slow and steady, swinging it through. And yeah, keep your breath nice and steady. All right, we're gonna do 3 more. And try to keep your knee pointing down as much as possible. So even as you raise your leg up, you're not opening your hips toward this, like toward the wall. You're keeping your hips facing toward the floor. All right, and then we'll switch to the other side. And so again, you're gonna kick that foot straight up, keeping your knee bent. And again, your knee and your hips keep facing the floor. Try not to open it up toward the wall. Just keep it facing toward the floor. And then swing straight through. Also, do you hear that sound in the background? It's our male quails crowing.
Oh. Well, it's nice you've been getting quail eggs again.
Well, you know what we did? We took all the males out. We had like 5 males in there. And we took them out. And so now they're living in a box in the laundry room.
Oh, jeez.
Well, I put them on Craigslist, and I have gotten a couple responses, but like it just hasn't worked out for someone to come get them yet. So I think it'll just take some time, but I'll be able to rehome them. They'll be able to go off to a farm somewhere and live a nice rest of their lives, however long that is. And honestly, I don't think they really mind the box life. They just crow so much. Okay, we're going to go back to the starting leg, and you're going to kick your leg straight back, and then rather than swinging it through, you're going to swing it around and then back. Kick it straight up and around. And again, as you're doing this, keeping that neutral spine, belly button to spine, rib cage tucked down, focusing on your breath. The work really happens keeping these slow and steady, not necessarily just like doing the reps as fast as you can. And we were going for like 6 to 8 on each side.
Oh, 6 to 8 quantity?
Yes, yeah, 6 to 8 reps, which for me is like 2 more on this side.
Okay, because I wasn't counting.
Yeah, no, exactly. I know you weren't counting, but I just thought I would tell you about how many I was trying to count. And so I'm going to switch to the other side. And so kicking straight back and then around. Keeping that back nice and flat by really bracing your midline. Okay, I got 2 more on this side. Ooh. Okay, and then I'm gonna come back, hands and knees, but you're gonna sit your butt back onto your heels, and you can keep your knees spread out about hips width apart. And we're just gonna do a little child's pose. So you're gonna press your arms out forward, and then let your chest just sink towards the ground. And again, your knees can come out wide, and you're going to try to push your butt back onto your heels as much as you can, push your chest toward the ground as much as you can, and you may feel this like stretching out your armpit and your hips. And just take some nice deep breaths here in child's pose. Can you hear them? They just don't stop crowing. Okay, now we're gonna go from child's pose. You're gonna pull yourself up onto hands and knees, and then you're gonna keep kind of pulling yourself forward. Tuck your back toes underneath so that your toes are on the floor. And then you're gonna pull up into plank, and then send your hips straight back. And so now you have your hips up high, and you're kind of in a downward facing dog. And so you're trying to keep your hips high and your chest down, kind of like child's pose, but now we're getting this big stretch through your hamstrings, and you're trying to straighten out your legs as much as you can. My downward dog is very bent leggy because my hamstrings are super tight, but that's okay. Everyone's down dog and we're just working with it. And so hips high, and again, trying to press those heels down and straighten out your hamstrings, straighten out your knees as much as you can. Okay, and then we're gonna take your right hand and reach for your left ankle. And we'll hold here, nice big breath. Put that hand back where it came from, and then we'll go left hand to right ankle. Hold that here for one breath. And then we're gonna plant your hands back, and we'll kind of roll forward a little bit, bending your knees to drop your knees to the ground. So we're back to this hands and knees position, and then sending your butt back down to your heels again, and then chest down to the ground. So now we're back in child's pose. All right, and then we're gonna kind of bring your chest up a little bit, bring your hands a little bit closer, and we'll get right hand twist up to the ceiling. Hold for one breath. And then place that hand back where it came from, and then other hand twist up toward the ceiling. One big breath, and back down. And then we'll come back forward, tabletop hands and knees. Keep leaning forward, tuck your toes under, and then send your hips up high and back. And so we're back in this downward dog. And then right hand, left ankle, one breath. Place that hand back, left hand, right ankle, or whatever, the opposite side. I can't remember what I said last time. One breath here, place that hand back. Okay, so rocking, leaning forward, slowly placing your knees down to the ground, and then sending your hips all the way back down here, child's pose. And then bring your hands up, chest up a little bit, twist right arm to the ceiling. Back down, left arm to the ceiling. Back down, and then putting weight in those hands, pulling yourself up to hands and knees, continuing to lean forward, tucking your toes underneath in the back, popping your knees up, and then hips up. Keep sending your butt back, hips back, straighten out those back legs. Right hand, left heel. One breath there, and then back down. Left hand, right heel. One breath there, and then back down. Okay, really as slowly as you can, placing your knees back to the floor in that tabletop hands and knees, and then butt back to your heels. Child's pose. Sliding your hands up, chest up, right hand twist to the ceiling. Back down, left hand twist to the ceiling. Back down, and then up to hands and knees. Keep leaning forward, tuck your toes under, knees up, hips up, butt high, keeping your legs straight. Push yourself back into downward dog. And then right hand, left ankle twist. Back down, left hand, right ankle twist. All right, then we'll place our hands back to the ground, nice and slow, setting your knees back down. And then we'll place our butt back to our heels and child's pose. Okay, we'll hang out here for a couple breaths. That was a nice, fun little cycle. And what we'll do next is just roll on over onto your back. And you can put your hands under your butt, and that'll kind of provide some support for your low back. and your legs are gonna be sticking straight out. And you're gonna bend your knees, so like lead with your bent knees, but then pull your legs up into the ground and finish with a straight leg extended out in front. And then to come back down, bend your knees again, and then kind of kick them straight out. So you're kind of keeping your legs together, bending them, and then kicking straight out. Does that make sense? Yeah, perfect. Nice. Okay, I'll do 3 more. Okay, and the next time you bring your legs down, bend your knees first, and then drop your knees off to the left. And so your knees will be off to the side, but your back, you're still trying to keep your back flat on the floor. And then now you're gonna just pull your shoulder blades up off the ground. So you're doing just a little crunch, and then back down. So shoulder blades up, yeah, and then back down. Nice. And try to pull from your shoulder blades, not like from your head or your neck. So you're really trying to lift your chest up as much as you can, rather than just trying to crank your head. Okay, we'll do 3 more. Nice. And then we'll roll back to the middle, and we'll go back to some of those leg kicks. One more of these, and then on the way back down, bending those knees, then dropping them off to the right side. And then now we're going to just pull those shoulders up off the ground. Okay, we'll do 3 more. All right, we're gonna do another round. So we'll go back to the middle, and we're gonna do these leg kicks. We're gonna do 5 reps. And so starting straight, bending your knees, kicking up, that's 1, and then back down, 2. Every time you kick up, that counts. 3, 4, what did I say, 5, right? 5, okay, we're doing 5 of those. And then when your knees come down, drop them off to the left, and we're gonna do 10 little side crunches. So just pulling those shoulders up off the ground 10 times. Yeah. And after you get 10 of your little side crunches, we'll go back to our leg lift kicks, and we'll do another set of 5. So it's 5 leg lift kicks and then 10 side crunches. Nice. And once you get those 5 kicks, it'll be 10 side crunches on that other side, which I think that's what you're doing now. Okay, we're gonna do this for 3 rounds, so we've got our last set coming up. So we're gonna do another 5 leg lift kicks and 10 side crunches on each side. Nice. The leg lift kicks look good. You can see your kicks coming up. And so it's 5 kicks and 10 side crunches on each side. All right, last round of leg lift kicks. Yes. Oh, hi, Hannah. She just walked by behind you. Yeah. Last 10 side crunches. Okay, and then we'll take a little break. So you can grab some water.
Okay. We're taking a little break, grabbing water, so I'm gonna let Hannah out real quick.
Yes, perfect time to let Hannah out. Also, do you have your walking stick?
Okay.
We'll just use it for the first round if you have it nearby.
I just keep it right here in the garage by the recycle.
Yeah. I feel like all your stuff is accessible enough. Keep good track of everything. And you got to hang out with Kason yesterday?
Yeah.
That's nice.
He just, you're just gonna constantly hold him, bounce him, and rock him.
Yeah.
Anyways, so.
Isn't that kind of how Kimmy was?
Yeah, pretty much like Kimmy was.
Yeah. He's just, he needs attention.
Yeah. And he, where Kimmy, when I would do this with her, she would hold still.
Uh-huh.
As long as I'm doing this, where Kason's constantly like wanting to spin around in your arms, and he's just very active.
Yeah, he's trying to get away.
Yeah. Well, he just wants to look over here, point, and reach, and
Totally. He's very curious.
Yeah.
Engaged with the world around him. That's good. Okay, we're just going to use our stick for our first round of our deadlifts. Okay, so remember, these are like the good mornings where you want to keep your back nice and flat. You're going to plant your feet. Your feet will be under your hips. And again, you're just trying to keep the dowel or whatever you're working with in contact with your low back and between your shoulder blades. And so you're going to keep your shoulders down and back. And you almost have to kind of reach up with your hips as you bow forward. And you keep your shoulder blades down and back through that range of motion. And so we'll just do like 10-ish reps, nice and slow and steady, and just feeling how that feels. Keeping your midline nice and tight, keeping that back flat as you bow forward. And it's okay if you're not getting very far, just a little bow is great. It doesn't have to be very low. Just as long as you're keeping that dowel in contact with your shoulder blades and your low back. Okay, and then you're going to set your dowel aside. So again, that was just kind of for our first round to remind ourselves about our posture, which is always good. And now you're going to grab your weights. And you're going to hold one weight in each hand. Yes, nice. Okay, but they're going to get your side. And the weights are pretty much going to track just the very side/front of your legs the whole way down. Or again, they might not go all the way to the floor, just as low as they're going to get. And so keep thinking about keeping your shoulder blades down and back. And you're going to bow forward, keeping your hips high. and trying to keep your back as flat as with the dowel or whatever you're working with. And you're just gonna bring your weights, again, they're gonna slide down your quads about to your knees and then right back up. So you're only going about down to your knees. And you're gonna try to keep your back nice and flat, tight with your midline. And again, we're gonna do 10 reps. Yeah, nice. Shoulder blades down and back, reaching back and up with your hips. Just slow and steady. I think I have one more. And as you stand, really pushing your heels into the ground. Nice. Okay, now we're gonna bring the weights up to our shoulders. You're gonna keep your feet flat on the ground. And you're gonna try to think about keeping that back nice and flat. But this time you're just gonna bend your knees, no bowing, and just sit down and come back up. Yeah, really nice. And you still wanna keep that back flat while you're squatting too. And we're gonna do 10 reps here. Think about your toes as like fingers that are grabbing the floor, and your heels is where you're pushing out of. And again, you're thinking belly button to spine, nice flat back, shoulder blades down and back, just bending your knees and then standing straight up. Perfect. And again, we're gonna go for 10. Sorry, what?
I'm not going down as low as you.
You look like you're going pretty low.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great. Okay, I think I have one more. Nice. Okay, can you go like this with one weight? Okay, great, sweet. Okay, you're gonna put both here, and now you're actually gonna use your hips. So yeah, like imagine like you're picking up casein or something and you gotta like hoist with your hips a little bit to kind of get them up to your shoulders or something. So you're gonna use that kind of a motion with just like a little dip from your hips, like a hoist, but you're also gonna press up overhead as you do it. So you're gonna get that little dip and then press up overhead. Nice, and then down with control. And then a dip and drive up overhead. Yes, and then down with control. Great, so we do 10 of those. Really nice. Okay, I have one more. And then we're gonna set the weights down and rest.
Then what?
Rest.
Oh. Oh, and I'll actually drink water this time because last time I just let that out.
Oh yeah, you need water. Okay, also it looked like your presses were really good. And so a couple of things that I think you were doing that I maybe didn't say because I didn't want to throw you off, but I want to point out to make sure that you're doing for the rounds going forward. The first thing is when you're bending your elbows, don't let them bend off to the side. Have them bend forward. And so I think that's why I was trying to show you the side angle. So you can see as I come down, my elbows are coming forward, and then the weights are kind of ending up on my shoulders. And so again, I think it looked to me like you were doing that, but I just want to reiterate round to round, as you are letting them come down, your elbows are forward.
Okay.
Yeah. Not too much out to the side. Yeah, great. And also they don't need to be like way in front. They don't have to like cross the plane of your body, but they're kind of just like straight in front. So there's still room for my elbow to come down. Yeah, but it's not flaring off to the side like that. These are fine too, but this is just isolating like a couple really small muscles. And if we do it like this, we'll use like a lot more of our bigger muscles.
Okay.
Yeah. And then in your overhead position, when the weight's up overhead, it should be right over your head. And so your wrists are in line with your elbows, are in line with your shoulders. And then this is where you can kind of check your midline too, because if I'm leaning back too much, my shoulders and my hips are not in line. So everything should be in line. Wrist, elbow, shoulder, hips, and then knees and ankles too, but I'm on my knees to kind of just show you that a little bit closer. And again, your overhead position looked good to me, but I just wanted to kind of reiterate those things. Because if you're pressing too out in front, you kind of don't get this full range of motion through your shoulder. So really make sure as you're pressing, you're getting it all the way up over your head, and then elbows forward as you bring it down.
Okay.
But again, they looked good last time. I just wanted to kind of reiterate a couple of those things before we do the next set.
Okay.
Because sometimes getting into the form details gets in the way of the actual movement.
Right.
But you were doing the movement right, so I didn't want to throw you off.
I'm just making sure I know what I'm paying attention to.
Exactly. Okay, do you want to do another set?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to start with those deadlifts. And so you have one weight in each hand. We have one weight in each hand for all of these. And your feet are under your hips, flat on the ground, shoulder blades down and back, and you're just bowing forward. And bringing those weights just to your knees, and then standing back up. And keeping that back nice and flat, as if we had our dowel in place. And we're doing 10 reps, just nice and slow and steady. And as you stand, you can really feel pressing into the ground with your heels as you stand up, like using your hamstrings and your butt. As you stand, pressing into the ground, you should be able to engage and feel that a little bit. Did you hear that notification?
Pardon me?
Oh, my phone just made a notification sound. I wasn't sure if you could hear it or not.
No. Mark has the TV on behind me. No, I just can't hear her back. I hear my background.
That's good. Your background is better than my background. My background is quail sounds and phone notifications.
Yeah, I think mine's Perry Mason.
I guess I'm not sure which is better. Okay, I'm going to do one more of these, and then we're going to do our squats. So we're going to bring those weights back up to our shoulders for our squats. And also you can bring your stance a little bit wider, shoulder width apart. So deadlifting, we usually like our hips under our feet under our hips. Squatting, usually a little bit wider, our feet under our shoulders. And still keeping your feet flat on the ground, and just bending your knees to squat down, and then standing up with control. And again, any level of depth is totally awesome. As long as you're keeping your back nice and flat, you're engaging your core, staying in control the whole way down and up. Gripping the floor with your toes, driving out of your heels as you stand. And then after 10 of those, it'll be 10 of our overhead press, hoisting with your hips. So I call these a push press because you get a little push from your hips. And so you get a little push and a press. And then remember, it's down with control, bending your elbows forward and finishing overhead. Nice. That's great, but still be fast with your hips. Still hoist them up. Yeah. You're almost like throwing them in the air and then just like returning it slowly and in control. So get that hoist with your hips. It's kind of like when we do those lower downs in the push-up. It's really just about that lowering down movement. So we gotta kind of throw them up into position so we can lower them down. And we're doing 10 of these as well. These are getting hard.
I lost track because I was thinking of too many other things than counting.
Okay, one more. I know, there's too many other things to think of. Nice. That's good. Rest. I know you're already thinking about a lot of things, so don't want you to think about too many things at once. One more thing is that you don't need to look at the weights and stuff. Try to just keep your head and gaze neutral. You don't want to be like looking way up at the weights when you're pressing overhead. Or same thing with the deadlifts or the squats. You don't want to be like tucking your chin way under like this. So like try to think of like almost like your head and your neck as an extension of the dowel. And so you're trying to kind of maintain that neutral spine all the way through to the top of your head, which is actually really hard to do. Because
I just look out at Puget Sound, but I do think you're right. When I go up, I tend to chin up.
Yeah, I think so too. And also it is hard for me to tell exactly what your head's doing. So it's just kind of like maybe I'm doing it, and so I think that you're doing it, you know?
I was looking like I was looking at, I mean, I need to, so what you're saying is to just kind of keep like my dowel posture.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Did you just hit yourself in the face with your dowel?
No, it's the garage door opener. Which I do always forget about though, because the ceilings are super high everywhere, except the garage door opener hangs down in the middle. And so I run into it and I smack it all the time. But yes, exactly. Just kind of think about like your head could rest right here. And like, I think that we forget about our neck as like a part of our back, but it really is.
Yeah. Well, I kind of forgot about paying attention to that dowel posture.
I know, there's too many things to think about. Okay, so.
For the squats, but I should think of it for the whole thing.
Yeah, I think definitely thinking about your posture like all the time. When we're working out, when you're walking Hannah, when you're watching TV, you know, like that type of stuff is like super helpful just for everything. Sorry, I was going to say something else. Oh yeah, okay. So for this last set, we're going to do this one more time. You've done these a lot before. Your body like knows what you're supposed to be doing. So trust yourself and only think about one thing. There was like so many different things, but pick one thing and just focus on that for this set. And it can be one different thing for each movement.
So you know what I'm going to be thinking about is trying not to think about too many.
Good. Great. This is a mental activity. So yeah, find out what works for you. And so that's where like sometimes like in the beginning part where we're stretching and doing that stuff, it's like, okay, my breath. Like, okay, let's go back to those deep breaths. So it can always be something that when your mind is lost, you can just be like, okay, I can think about my breath and like the number on the reps, you know, and that's it. So think about something that is distracting enough, or like something that you are good enough at just focusing on, that all of those other things will just be like background humming around, you know, like, but you don't have to worry about it. You can just ignore that and think, you know, okay, shoulder blades down and back, or hips high, or breath, you know, whatever it is, just one thing, and it can change for each movement. Okay, so yeah, grab a second to decide what you're going to focus on.
What?
I said I'll give you a second to think about what it is. Okay, but we'll go into our deadlifts and we're going to do 10 reps. Okay, and I won't even say anything either. I won't distract you. Okay, ready, set, go. Okay, I did 10.
Me too.
Great. Okay, now we're gonna go into our squats. So maybe you're staying focused, maybe something else, but we're gonna take that shoulder width stance and we'll go into our squats, 10 squats. All right, and then 10 push press. And remember, just throw it up there and lower them down for 10 reps. Nice job. Okay, rest.
Okay.
Okay, so that was fun. So sometimes I've noticed that, like, whether I'm lifting or practicing something with frisbee or trying to do chores, like, if I'm thinking about too much, like, nothing really gets done. But if I try to just focus on, like, one thing, then, like, I do the right amount of sets and I, like, got better at, like, so for that one I was just really trying to think about bracing my midline. And, like, at the end of that set, I was like, okay, I feel it in my midline. And, like, maybe the other times, because I was, like, kind of thinking about something else, I didn't ever really get that real work through in my midline and really understanding how that felt. So, just fun to play around with. Definitely, you know, I like to keep talking and thinking about a lot of different stuff, but sometimes it's fun to just, like, focus in on one little thing as a practice for our strength training, but also just as, like, a mental practice. At least for me anyway. It's hard for me to do that. Okay. We'll do one last part. Do you have time for that?
I mean, I just have to go to my daughter's house.
Okay. I guess, yes. Okay, great. So we'll do one last part. It'll be shorter though.
Okay.
And so we're going to do 30 seconds mountain climbers. 30 seconds inchworms. I'll show you all the movements again. And then 30 seconds narrow to wide little hops. So the narrow to wide hops we'll practice first. So you just do a little tiny squat and then a hop, narrow to wide stance. So it's kind of like a jumping jack, but as opposed to just keeping your legs like tall, I suppose, and being on your toes, you're gonna really kind of sit back into your heels and get a little jump, narrow to wide. Yeah, nice. Those burn for sure. And then the inchworms, you remember inchworms. Plank, and then back to your toes. And then the mountain climbers in this plank position and just driving your knees up to your chest. And so we'll do 30 seconds of each, followed by 30 seconds of rest. And we'll just do that for 3 rounds. So it'll actually only take 6 minutes, but it'll probably get our heart rate going a little bit. And we can just finish with a little sweat. Okay, so we're gonna start with our mountain climbers. So come down into plank. Ready, set, go. And we'll just drive those knees up to your chest. And I feel like for this part, it's a little bit easier to maybe just try to keep breathing because you're not having to worry about how many reps you're doing. We're just going for time. And so you can just really think about whatever pace you're moving at. Just keep breathing. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so now we'll do our inchworms. So just walking your hands back to your feet. If you want to stand up, you can, or you can just kind of stay bent over and go right back into your next plank. Ten more seconds for inchworms. 3, 2, 1. Okay, now we'll get our little narrow to wide hops. And we're gonna rest after we do these. And it's okay to go slow, take little breaks. We just got 10 more seconds for these. 3, 2, 1, rest. Okay, 30-second break, and we're just gonna do that 2 more times.
Okay, I'm gonna fill my water.
Okay. Okay, we'll take 20 more seconds and then we'll do the next set. And so we'll be starting with mountain climbers in 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1, go! Mountain climbers. More seconds for your mountain climbers. 3, 2, 1, inchworms. So walking those hands back to your feet. All right, 3, 2, 1. Our narrow to wide hops. Three, 2, 1, rest. Okay, we'll take a break and then we'll do one more time. Okay, we'll take 30 more seconds. We'll take a minute break before we do our last set. It's kind of hard work, that one set.
Did you notice I was still breathing heavily?
No, I'm still breathing heavy. I was like, that was hard. And let's just get going into our last set feeling better than that. Okay, we got 10 more seconds.
Okay.
Back into our mountain climbers. Yes, it's like a minute is too long anyway. 3, 2, 1, go! Mountain climbers! Three, 2, 1, inchworms. 3, 2, 1. Narrow to wide hops. Last 30 seconds here. More seconds. 3, 2, 1. Rest.